So,
Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for coming. We will start shortly. But before we start, I just want to say once again, on behalf of the Labingate community, because I'm going to call it community because I understand a lot of us were actually participated in last year's conference, which was held virtually. We're looking forward to it being held this year in a more in-person or blended fashion. But that's just by the way. So thank you so much for coming. We don't take your coming or your reservation to join this particular webinar lightly at all. My name is Desmond Clenham. I'm actually from Wits University, Johannesburg, South Africa. Can I quickly say that, you should just put in the chat box where you're coming from. I'm monitoring it right now. I see that we have some people. A lot of people are actually from Nigeria, which is very good. I'm originally from Ghana, so yeah. I see some people are from Afghanistan. I see some people are from South Africa. But just keep them coming. We just want to know, we want to have a sense of the people we have and how we can tailor the needs for all the things that we do. I see a lot of Nigeria over here. Yes, I know some of you guys are also in Canada. That's a good one. Thank you all for coming. And so, because we have 1 hour to make sure that this thing goes. So, can I call on Dr. Abioye to tell us to kindly play the video? A lot of people might be joining us for the very first time and wondering, what is Labingate Inc.? It is a company, and we say it is the gateway to the world's laboratory. However, can you please play that video for us, and then we can take it from here? I see my brother from Cameroon. That is a good one. So we are going to play a video to talk about Labingate, and after that, we can continue. Thank you so much.
Hello, dear research colleagues. What are the challenges you are facing? Are you a researcher? Are you in need of the nearest laboratory with state-of-art equipment to execute your project? Are you currently planning to contact a laboratory or research host for your research visit or bench work? Are you a laboratory? Are you looking for increased research patronage and visibility of your laboratory? Are you interested in establishing robust research collaboration both locally and internationally? Generate revenues on laboratory equipment and sustainability of equipment maintenance? Are you an equipment manufacturer or buyer? Labingate Incorporated, Canada, is here with an unparalleled solution by introducing Labingate Digitalized Laboratory Innovation, LDLI, a one-stop platform to meet all your research needs. LDLI is a user-friendly platform with a capacity of over 10 million equipment, more than 100,000 laboratories, more than 5 million researchers, offering effective networking across the globe. Execute your related research transactions with ease today by signing up on www.labingate.com/register. We look forward to having you on our platform. Labingate, the gateway to world's laboratories.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Abioye. So on this, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our participants on today's webinar. Can I just say that this webinar is being recorded, and then we'll keep it on our website so that it will be shared with everyone that actually attended this. There are a lot of people that are supposed to be on this platform, but one way or the other, they are not able to attend. So they can also have the benefit of what we'll be talking about this particular day. And so, as we've heard in brief, we are trying very hard to make sure that all the barriers that will hinder someone from doing effective research, from doing quality science, from being locally relevant and internationally competitive. We are also trying to make sure that we create a space for our scientists, students, postdoctoral fellows, lecturers to communicate, to network, and also to share resources. So you can say that Labingate is like the Uber of science and engineering, where we try to glean knowledge and use resources that are not available locally and internationally. So that is basically what we've actually heard. Now, Labingate is a company incorporated in Canada with a vision is to be a leading world-class networking platform for researchers, industries, and laboratories. and we are committed to revolutionary research across the globe in all fields of human endeavor. That is why we are very keen on sustainability, material development, you name it. The mission is to bring standard research laboratories across the globe close to the researcher in any nooks or cranny of the world, offering the opportunity to carry out quality research analysis and to at a minimized stress. So we are trying very hard to make sure that we create a space where people do science, irrespective of their school having any of the resources that they need. The mandate in LabingGate is to transform the research laboratory's outlook in the world. Ours is indeed a rescue mission of bringing research laboratories to every researcher's doorstep, driven on the platform of networking between laboratories, researchers, and industry. Now, the synergy between these stakeholders is a vital requirement stipulated by us for quality and stress-free research across the globe. Yes, I see Best. Your hand is up. Go for it. Can you hear me? Best. Ovensera. Ovenseri. Did I get it right? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Anyway,
It's my fault.
We can hear you.
I saw a hand up there, so that's why I was okay. I'm gonna just continue. Okay, you can mute your mic.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
That's fine. Thanks a lot. Okay, like I said, I think in the chat we have people coming from Nigeria, Canada, South Africa, Cameroon, Afghanistan, and the rest. So we know there are people coming from various parts of the world, which is very good. And the fact that I just told you what the mission, the vision, and the mandate of LabingGate is. So it's a platform that we are trying very hard to bring a lot of people together. Now, this afternoon, we are going to hear a presentation from one of Africa's finest. I know he's a very moderate young man, so he wouldn't want me to sell him too much. But then today he will be talking to us about the 7 non-negotiable rituals for writing a grant-winning proposal. Dr. Bodunrin, can you put your slides? Can you share your screen whilst I introduce you? Thank you so much, sir. Now, Dr. Michael Oluwatosin Bodunrin. He is a senior lecturer in the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment of the University of the Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, South Africa. He is an IESA Rice grantee of the African Academy of Sciences in Nairobi, Kenya, and a recipient of the Commonwealth Science Conference grant of the Royal Society in the United Kingdom. He has contributed significantly to the development of aluminum-based composites and low-cost titanium alloys. His contribution in these areas have attracted notable awards and prizes. Now, he is passionate about science communication and science advocacy. He loves mentoring young colleagues who are interested in choosing a career in academia. He hopes to be a football manager once he retires from the academy. Now, Dr. Bodunrin has over 1,600 citations according to Google Scholar. I mean, just this morning, one of his papers, which is our paper, was just published. And I'm glad to be the one introducing this fine gentleman. He has written several grants and won them. And I think he is qualified and the best person to speak about the 7 non-negotiable rituals for writing a grant-winning proposal. Now, I am reminded that a great presentation is likened to a miniskirt, short enough to arouse interest and long enough to cover every vital details. On this note, Dr. Michael Oluwatosin Bodunrin, you have the floor. My people, this is Michael for you. Michael, go for it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Clenham, for that beautiful introduction. I hope everyone can still see my screen.
We can see your screen, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm just trying to hide a few things so that it doesn't cover my presentation. Okay. So thank you again for the beautiful introduction. I think you've said too much about me, and I don't want you to discourage people based on that. I'm just a normal guy, and today I would like to talk to you about 7 non-negotiable rituals for writing a grant-winning proposal. A lot of people probably thought maybe I am a ritualist, but I'm not necessarily a ritualist. By ritual, I meant you have to inculcate some habits and practice these habits regularly if you want to stand a chance of winning grants in the future. So I want to thank Labingate for giving me the opportunity to have this discussion with colleagues all over the world. Okay, I think we can take it from here. So you'll be wondering, I don't know why this is covering my screen. I need to just hide it. Okay, I'm not sure if this is working. Just give me a minute. So, okay, I can manage to drag it and hide it somewhere. Okay, so I'm a senior lecturer at Wits University, as introduced, and you'll be wondering, where is this university? It's actually in South Africa, although I am originally from Nigeria, but now I'm a South African. So I call myself citizen of Africa, in short. And if you want to visit us at Wits University, you need to travel to Johannesburg. OR Tambo will be your entry airport. Then you can easily locate Wits University because we're about 100 years old, so we are well known all over the world. It ranks among the top 1% of universities in the world. And at Wits University, you can actually find me in Richard Ward Building, which is the School of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering, called CHMT in short. And a lot of great minds have actually emerged from this particular school. The school has about 10 research groups, about 3 research chairs that get funded by the country, the government of the country. Then we have the AMSEN and DSTNRF directorate sitting in the school as well. AMSEN is responsible. AMSEN has actually trained over 100 scientists in Africa. And I see quite a few of them on this call today. Currently, the school has about 350 postgraduate students, which is quite impressive, and we're looking forward to increase that as the university wants to be a globally recognized university for research competitiveness. I just want to show you a few of our facilities. This is a facility, is one of the state-of-the-art research facility in terms of alloy processing. It's called the Global Thermomechanical Simulator. We have only 4 of these in Africa, so Wits is lucky to be one of them. And I'm one of the slaves that actually handle the machine. And you can find one of my colleagues beside me there. And this picture was taken like 4 years ago. And then we have spark plasma sintering machine as well. And this also, I think in Africa, it's not up to 5. So, and this is also in a very good state. If you are interested in doing some alloy development using spark plasma sintering technique, we have the capability. Then this is one of the XRD machines that we have in the university. So this is a desktop one, which works quite well. And we have potential stats for corrosion studies and electrochemical studies in general. And we have countless of this one, I don't even know. Not really only within the school, but the entire university, in the entire university. Then we have EPMA machine for analyzing compositions of samples. We also have TEM. We have a scanning electron microscope, which is also one of the best around. And we also have a very good lab called hydrometallurgy lab. It's very, actually very productive lab. We have quite a lot of labs like the corrosion lab, wear lab, and all that, but I couldn't capture all that here for the sake of time. And you can see that it's fully functional as there are students working in this lab. To actually make use of this facility, you can write an email to any of the professors that have been named here, or to keep it simple, you can write to the lab manager, which most likely pali@vits.ac.edu, or you actually go via LabIngate, as they have access to a number of universities all over the world. Yeah, so yeah, that's it about some of the research facilities that we have. Then maybe a little more about myself. They've told you too much about me already, but I already had it in the introduction on my slide, so I won't skip it. But of course, I'll probably give you an impression of who I am. I'm still an early career researcher. Sometimes my profile doesn't indicate that. It seems like maybe I'm a middle career researcher or a fully established career researcher. No, I am an early career researcher because I got my PhD just yesterday. That was in 2018, but I had my first degree in 2008, so it took me like 10 years to travel from first degree to the highest degree in the field. This is my profile in terms of where I've worked. Just a summary of where I've actually worked in the academia. So I started from FUTA, where I had my first degree, but currently I'm with the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa. And I've said earlier that I'm a senior lecturer there. I'm a member of a few professional organizations, and also I've won quite a few notable awards in the past. And I'll be talking a bit about this award because it's part of the ritual, or let me say, evidence of some of the rituals that I've performed while I was growing as a student, and of course as an academic staff. So, and these awards actually led to some of the grants that I've won in the past, and most of them are terminating this year, which means more work for me, and I look forward to collaborating with some of you that are listening to me today. Hopefully we can write a collaborative grant together and win it. Yeah, so that's Michael in a nutshell. I know that more than 80% of those who register for this talk are more or less early career researchers. So I'm one of you, and I'll be showing you some of the rituals that I performed to achieve some of the results that I have today. I want to give you an overview of what I work on. So probably if you think that we can work together, then definitely just reach out to me. So I work basically on titanium metal matrix composites, especially aluminum matrix composite. But recently I've developed interest on lightweight steel, creep-resistant steel, and of course refractory high entropy alloys. Myself and Dr. Clenham are doing some wonderful work in that particular area. Hopefully it will yield some results soon. Then as a researcher, you really need to do research that is quite important. And how do you know? You would hear the news around. What are those keywords people are saying? And of course, for me, I'm much more interested in biomedical related research, renewable energy, sustainable environment, and circular economy, because these are the keywords that attract grants. There are more of them, but these are the ones that I am focused on. And I think I will make reference to this slide in my subsequent slides, basically. So this is like a foot map of everything that, like, if you Google me, all these that you've seen here have something to do with me, except those ones in yellow. But I'm trying to develop capacity in that area by collaborating with people who are experts in that area. Although we do have a few collaborators in the US who are expert in this area, and some locally, to strengthen, my research outputs. And I think my H-index and citation has been given by but yeah, that's a prophecy, Dr. Clenham already. Yeah, so I currently have about 4 PhD students and 5 master students, and I hope to increase them when there are more research grants. So enough of myself. Let's go to the business of the day. A lot of people will be like, oh, okay, why do you have to Why not go work for an industry? Why do you have to stay in the academia when you can make more money as an engineer in the industry? The truth about it is some of us need to start creating new knowledge that industry can apply so that they can make products that will bring about transformation, products that will make life better for every one of us. So not everyone can go into the industry. Some of us have to stay back and generate new knowledge. So the question is research really important? Yes, it is. And I believe that most of you would agree with me. And because research requires a scientist or any researcher to think about an idea. And when you have that idea, it's not enough to become a researcher. You need to then map out an implementation plan. And when you combine these two, that gives you the ability to create new knowledge that then transforms the world. But the problem is that when you have these implementation plans, the resources that you need to effect this, to carry out these implementations are limited. And once these resources are limited, you need to find grants. And if you have to find grants, it's a competitive process. So you have to compete with other people because there are lots of people who have great ideas. And you have to compete so that your funds, your research idea can be funded and you can easily implement them through your plans that you have drawn. So we need to transform our world. We know about some of the problems we have now, the problem of climate change. We need new knowledge to keep going. Some people think it's best to take us to Mars. Some people think we need reverse engineering to make our to make Earth sustainable. If you're going to Mars or you're staying on Earth, we all need knowledge, and that's why we carry out research, basically. So, but for your ideas to stand out, you need research grant, and it's really not easy to get it. So let me tell you more reasons to apply for research grant as an early career scientist. For example, it enables you to implement your ideas. Like I said earlier, you are able to easily create and disseminate new ideas. Again, it provides you the opportunity to train young researchers. If some of my previous supervisors didn't win grants, probably my PhD wouldn't be sponsored. And I believe that a lot of us here today have benefited from that. I also have a few students that I'm sponsoring now because I managed to secure grants. So again, when you have grants, you have the opportunity to establish effective collaboration. Effective collaboration leads to quicker delivery of new knowledge and, of course, dissemination of new knowledge. And if you have research grants, you have bragging rights to actually reach out to people that you don't know and collaborate with them. So at least you have something to offer. That is what that means. Basically, it's also, more reasons why you have to apply for research grant is that it provides you the opportunity to acquire research infrastructures. So without state-of-the-art research facilities, it can be difficult for you to do that groundbreaking research. So research grants gives you that opportunity. Well, I'm not saying that all research output or all new knowledge requires research grant, as I will show you in the subsequent slides. But it is very important that we pursue research grants for some of this reason. And of course, it's when you win research grants, that validates your academic scholarship and it enhances your career as a researcher. So people give you all over the world respect you when they see your CV, and that alone is a motivating factor for many of us who are applying for research grants. And before I move to the next icon that would pop out soon, I want you to know that this list is not exhaustive. You can add your own, but these are just a few that I have decided to show here. So basically, how do you pursue a research grant? I don't know of any other way than to write a research proposal, because I've never seen any research grant given on a platter of gold. You have to compete for it. And the way you compete is to write a proposal. So your proposal is your evidence that you take to court. And in the court, you have experts who are judging different proposals to see who has the best idea and who has the best implementation plan. Then whose research idea would give more impact, and whose research idea would transform the world better. So it becomes very important that everybody should know how to write research proposal. Even if you are in the industry, you need to write proposal, because you write business plan, that's more or less like research proposal, basically, because they are kind of similar in certain ways. So, and that's why today I would show you some of the rituals you need to perform to then make your research ideas, your research implementation plan, have a chance of attracting grants. It's not something that you wake up one day and you write and you win. There are habits you need to exhibit, to acquire certain things that gives your research idea, research proposal, an opportunity to attract funds. So I'll be taking you through some of these rituals. But before I go do that, what I did while preparing for this presentation is to look at about 7 of the grants that I've applied for in the past, and look at the different components that makes the research proposal. So you see, in some cases, they will ask for scientific goal, in some cases, significance of the project, concept and work plans, research methodology, and like that. And in some cases, they keep it in some cases they keep it very simple. They just ask you for project summary, project description, budget, support letters. Well, this table looks complicated, and you can see the font is very small so that you can't see it, but that's the only way you to capture just a few and give you a feel of things that are required. And this is from 7 different grants that I've applied for, or some of them are also grants that are grant applications that I've reviewed in the past. Everything you have in this table, I have summarized into 4 or 5 text boxes. So the first one is showing you research profile, research experience, leadership experience. You'll find these in most of the research grant applications. So in the proposal, you have to provide any of these 3, and I will show you the ritual you need to perform to be able to achieve this. Your profile is very, very important. It's about one of the most important things that you need to work on every day. Otherwise, you wouldn't stand any chance to win a grant. So I will show you the ritual you need to perform to achieve what you have here, so that when you're writing your proposal, it becomes quite easy. So the next one is a text box in purple, showing you every project description, methodology, work plan, data management plans. These are some of the things that you would encounter when you're writing your research proposal, and I'll show you 1 or 2 rituals that you can use to achieve this. And this more or less is the scientific core of your research proposal. And the third one that I will show you, followed by the 4th and 5th one. So you see here, we have the project summary, novelties, scientific goals, alignment to national and global strategies, and all that. So this is another text box capturing things that you need to know how to prepare for, so that when you're writing your research proposal, it becomes quite easy. Then, of course, budget is very, very important. And this is probably one of the most difficult components in any research proposal. Then you need letter of support and documents. They might look, it's like accommodating smaller text boxes, but the truth about it is, without these 2, if they are not on point, you do not stand a chance of winning any research grant. So I will now show you the rituals that you may need to perform to achieve this component, or to satisfy the requirements of each of the items listed in these text boxes. So I've put I've grouped them into these text boxes so that you can see how the rituals you perform meet up with these, because sometimes one ritual could cover for more than 4 of the requirements, and sometimes you need combination of 2 or 3 rituals, but I will take the rituals one after the other. So so the first ritual is add value to your research profile. It's a very profound thing. This is the only way to show your funders that this is what I'm capable of. And you can only show them through what you have done in the past. It's the only way to show that you're qualified. So one of the ways of adding value to your research profile or building your research profile is, acquiring higher degree, masters, and PhD. And not only that, to try and publish, but a lot of people do that. Why not try some of the things that are difficult? For example, publish review articles. When I was still a student, I remember chatting to one of my professors. I was like, "Oh, review articles are difficult to write." Another professor told me, "No, it's only meant for professors to write." But I wrote it as just a PhD student, and I will show you evidence very soon. Again, you should try and write opinion articles on hot topics. Now, climate change is something that everybody's talking about. Do a bit of review articles, do a bit of research on the internet, look for evidence from other researchers, and write an opinion, say whether you agree with some of the findings or not. Then you can also participate in research competitions. This is really very good because it puts you on the spot. People get to know you. You don't have to win, but you have to learn. You have the opportunity to learn 1 or 2 things. People will say something that will be useful for you in the future. It's an opportunity to get feedback. So these are ways you can actually enhance your research profile. If you don't have a solid research profile, your application might be thrown into the dustbin from the very first start. So then finally, I would advise that you take up new challenges when you do not have the correct credentials. Like when I was told it's not possible for you to write a review paper, I was just 1 year into, in fact, it wasn't 1 year, I was just a few months into my PhD, and I attempted, and it came out positive. So, and that paper today is probably one of my bragging rights that I've attracted quite a few funds into my research. So take up new challenges. When they say this is not possible, just try. There is no crime in trying, because if you don't get it, then you've learned something. If you get it, it becomes a bragging right. So that's what I would like to tell you. And when you do these things, this list again is not exhaustive, but when you do these things, you have the opportunity to satisfy these requirements. So when they ask for your leadership experience, you tell them you have it. Research experience, you tell them you have it. Yeah, when they ask you to write about your personal profile, you have something to write other than the degrees you have acquired, but you are able to write things that you have done and has given you extraordinary qualifications. So that's the first ritual, and this doesn't end when you win one research grant. As you win more research grants, you keep building your profile. I mean, you do this continuously till you maybe stop functioning as a researcher. So it's very, very important. You have to pay attention to it. It's my number one ritual, actually. I consistently look for ways to add value to my research to build my profile. So just to give you a few examples, I made mention of the review article it was my first ever review article. I was not even 100% experienced. I remember then, I didn't know that I needed to get copyright permission from all the papers all the figures that I've used. Thanks to Dr. Clenham that saw me writing the paper when I came to VETS as a PhD student in 2014, like, "Oh, do you know you need to get copyright permission?" I said, "No, how do I do that?" Then he showed me. This paper is ranked among the top 1% of most cited paper in the field of metal matrix composites in general. It becomes a bragging right for me. If you subtract that citation from my total citation, you can see that it has contributed significantly to my research profile. But I didn't want to show my own example. alone. I'll be talking a lot about Dr. Rahul Ram in this presentation. You can see I never met him before. We only met last year online, basically. And in 2015, he also wrote a review article that has attracted that much citations. And both of us, having met last year, were able to apply for a research grant, and we used our experience. He is more or less an hydrometallurgist, and I am a physical metallurgist. And we looked at our profile that it matches quite well, and we're able to write a proposal that won us a grant. So what I'm saying in essence is, one of the rituals that I've performed in the past is trying to write review papers, even though it's difficult, but the reward is very, very good. So I'm also showing you an example here where I wrote an opinion article. So it's not like I'm a climate scientist. I am not. I am an engineer. But then I saw it was more or less. It's still a very hot topic currently, so I decided to write something about it. And it's just reading like maybe 10 good papers, then you form an opinion based on that. And of course, you don't have to publish it in a scientific-based paper. You can publish it in any of these traditional or social media outlets. In this case, it was published by South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement. And this is one of the things that I use as evidence to show funders that, you see, I'm very good at disseminating research information. If I have this finding, I'm able to tell the public the implication of my research findings, and I'm also able to get feedback. So, but because I have this, it's an evidence that I show. So it's one of the rituals. Try to write opinion articles. I'm just showing you a few examples of, how I've fulfilled ritual one. So this is a communication between myself and Dr. Rahul Ram when we met last year at a conference. He was actually the one that wrote to me. I haven't seen my profile, like, oh, I like your profile. I thought we could apply for a grant that is given after the conference that we attended. Then if you read through the emails, that's something that I want to say. He said, think our profile matches up really well too. I agree we both have, I also responded in my email, I agree we both have a near perfect profile, which will serve as a bonus. So profile building is very, very important. So I've never met this man before. He looked up my profile in a conference that we had only presented a poster. I didn't even give a talk. And he saw, oh, you have a very good profile. If we apply for grant together, we'll get it. So, and to cut the long story short, this was the result we got. We were able to win a grant last year from the Royal Society of the UK. So this, I think, is sufficient evidence to show you that ritual one actually works. So try as much as possible to build your profile, consistently build it. Even if you've won all the grants in this world, it's not enough. So it's a ritual that you need to pay attention to. So the second ritual that I would want to talk about is you being able to write persuasively. We have a lot of people with brilliant ideas. They know their science very well. They know their research very well. They have ideas that can turn around the whole world, but no one listens to them because they cannot write in a persuasive manner. Remember, your proposal is the only thing that the reviewer has, the expert has in his or her presence. I mean, so you need to write in such a way that, it is persuasive enough. So one thing that you need to do is to master the art of science communication. And why is this important? It's important because it gives you an avenue to satisfy or to pass the right message to the funders or experts reviewing your proposal. So, for example, I've asked a question here: what does success look like in a particular grant application? So you've seen a research call, a research grant call, and you look at the call. You need to be able to think ahead of the funder, like, okay, what is the funder looking for? What does success look like to the funder? And based on that, forget about all the technical jargons in your field, try to write in a way that the reviewers and the funders would understand. And when you're able to do this, then you'll be able to convince the reviewers and the funders that you have the ability to execute the research, and they will fund you. So it's very, very important that you write persuasively. So, and one way to do that is to master the art of science communication. This is one thing that majority of scientists are lacking, and I'll show you some of these some of the examples of what we've done in the past. So here I'm just only elaborating more on, how to master the art of science communication. You can take science communication courses. There are lots of them online. You can read science communication articles. I'll show you a few. You can work with science journalists. It's something that I've done before. So you don't have to turn yourself to a journalist so that you can write so that everyone would understand. You can work with journalists. After that, what you can also do is you can participate in other science communication activities like giving talks and the likes. So when you do this, you are able to meet up with all these requirements. Like when you're asked to write your project summary, or maybe talk about scientific goals, your project novelty, or benefit to countries, you need to master the art of science communication. People, when they write, most researchers, when they write their project summary, they fortify it with too much technical details that the reviewers will not understand. Don't forget, sometimes the people who review, or when they do initial screening of your research proposal, some of them are not even in your field. So your project summary has to be written in a language that anyone would understand. To show you an evidence of what we've done before, this was the grant we won last year. Even from the title of the proposal, you would see that anyone who picks it up would understand. Waste to value, an assessment of blast furnace slag as reinforcement in the design of aluminum matrix composite. We are saying we are adding value to blast furnace slag to develop new material. So basically, I'm encouraging you to try as much as possible to get in the heart of science communication, because that is required when you're writing your motivation, when you're writing your project summary. That is not where you write authoritatively. Talking about authoritatively, I think I would explain more about that in the next ritual, but let me show you a few examples. So in the past, what I've done is, I published this first paper from my research work on titanium, and I was able to convert that paper to a popular science article. The majority of people who are not in metallurgy wouldn't understand this topic, but anyone can understand this. This is more attractive. When you read this, it has the same information that I have in this paper. So you need to do this. So if some of you who are here have already published articles, published research articles, try as much as possible to write science communication articles. Popular science articles. Conversation Africa has a lot of science journalists looking for stories. If you think you've done something amazing, you can work with a journalist and you can come up with articles like this. When I discovered something else from the work in 2020, I wrote another popular science article. Look at how complex this topic is, and compare it to developing affordable titanium implants in Africa. So it's very, very important that you write persuasively, and the only way you can do that is you can start with some of the published papers you have now, convert it to research articles, and it even contributes to building your profile, because people who read this understand your work better. They can even cite your work in their various research. And don't forget, it's not only scientists that cite your work, or researchers that cite your work. Even in policy documents developed by government, they cite all this work. So you can even increase your citation via science communication articles. So I'm not the only one that has been doing this. You can see this title that I'm not going to read because it's very complex, but working with journalists, then they decided to give it another title. And this is much more easier and more interesting to read. Scientists taught a spider how to jump so they can one day do the same for robots. But if you had to read this, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how you feel about it. That's a typical example. So, and this was one of the groundbreaking research that has happened in the last 10 years. Observation of gravitational waves from a binary black hole merger. If you're not an astrophysics, you probably wouldn't appreciate this. But they worked with a journalist and they said, oh, gravitational waves detected 100 years after Einstein's prediction. So people who have these skills are able to write persuasively when they're writing their project summary, for example, or trying to motivate why their research is important. So the second ritual is try as much as possible to write persuasively, and mastering science communication skills is very, very important. And I've shown you a few examples of myself and other people who have been doing it before me. If you watch a lot of YouTube video of physics experts in physics and all that, they explain complex concepts so easily because of the science communication skill. If you don't have one, get one today. So the third one, this is where I think most of us are comfortable. The third ratio is that you need to write authoritatively. And how can you write authoritatively? So you write authoritatively based on the knowledge you have. And how do you acquire knowledge? You acquire knowledge by reading, by putting yourself out there, and taking any opportunity to learn, because this makes you very versatile. If you don't write authoritatively, I'm afraid you may find it difficult to win a research grant. And there are sections where you are expected to write authoritatively. I had shown you earlier that when you're writing project summary or you're motivating why your research is important, you have to write persuasively. But here, this is where they measure your knowledge, and quality of your ideas is being measured based on the knowledge you know. And I have a mathematical expression there based on the knowledge you have, and of course followed by your practice. I mean, how long have you been practicing in that field, and of course your talent. So I can't remember any of the grants that I have won based on my talent or maybe number of years I've spent in the academia. I think I've won it basically on my knowledge. So because I'm able to write authoritatively. And when you write authoritatively, you're able to satisfy this component of your research proposal. So here you are able to map out a very good data management plan, a very good dissemination plan. It also helps you to show how novel your work is. You're able to describe your project much better in a convincing way to the experts. This particular aspect of your research proposal is always evaluated by experts. They look at your scientific methods. Are they valid? So it's very, very important that you pay attention to that. They also look at your work plan. So I just want you to pay attention to a few things when you are when you're writing up authoritatively. There are certain things that needs to show. For example, chronicle of knowledge evolution in the area you're writing your research proposal on. How has knowledge evolved over time? So for example, if you're asked to describe your project, you should write literature review. There are certain proposals where you have the opportunity to write literature review. Don't just write what is the state of the art. Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. This is the problem. This is how people have solved it. This is at this very point, this knowledge was generated, and subsequent years, this additional knowledge was generated, and then you can now establish the state of the art, and based on that you can even ask quality research questions. There is nothing quality research questions do win grants. If you can ask quality research question, you can then be able to write a very good research objectives or aim. Your hypothesis will be convincing. And once you have your objectives in order, your methodology would be easily feasible and visible. So it's important that you pay attention to making sure that you ask the right research questions in your proposal. But this, of course, depends on your knowledge. So you need to do thorough research, literature survey in the area that you're going to be writing your research proposal on, and make sure that when you're developing work plan, for example, make sure that this is evident. Use project management tools like SMART. You've heard about SMART goals. Like when you are putting your objectives, make sure that your objective is SMART. So SMART means specific, measurable, achievable. Then I think then time band. The T there stands for time band. So I'm sure that quite a lot of you seem to be familiar with this. There's another tool called MVP, that is minimum viable project. So at the end of the day, if you fail at all, what is that thing that you have to achieve? So these tools help to organize your plans. And of course, the most important one is that ask for peer and expert review. I did win an internal research grant last year. I had to send it to quite a few of my colleagues. Dr. Clenham was one of them that revised it, and the grant came quite easily. So it's very important that when you write this section of your research proposal, it is important that you share it with an expert that you trust, people that you think wouldn't steal your research ideas, so they can actually help you look at it and tell you what to correct, what to change, or what to leave. So when you do all this, when you inculcate the habit of writing authoritatively, then it's much easier for you to win a research grant. So you are then positioning yourself in such a way that your research proposal becomes fundable. So it's very, very important. Don't forget that the quality of your idea is dependent on how much knowledge you have in that area, a little bit about how long you've been practicing, your experience, and of course, then just a little fraction of your talent. So, but the three adds up to give you a very great idea. So, and of course, I couldn't see these. If you go to this link, basically you would get some nice lectures from one of the MIT professors on how to speak, but you can apply it to also writing some of the ideas that he had shared in that lecture. So the fourth ritual that I would like to share with you is that you must be able to increase your level of awareness at all times. And this ritual addresses all components of a research proposal. So, and how do you do that? You do that by networking with other researchers, by volunteering, and of course, the most important one, by collaborating with others. In fact, these days, they hardly fund a single researcher. So you have to collaborate with others for you to be able to win any research grant. That makes your proposal even more solid, especially if the problem you're trying to solve is multidisciplinary in nature. So it's very, very important that you network with people. When you network, it does not necessarily mean that you collaborate, but networking provides you the platform to collaborate in future. Volunteering allows you to learn new things and of course increase your awareness. I did volunteer to serve, to participate in some events, for example, Science Forum South Africa a few years ago. And there I was able to pick up a few words. Oh, now that was where I pick up circular economy. I never knew what that is before. So, circular economy. Then I Googled it. I read a few things. Oh, I see. Oh, I see now that this is quite important. And I started working towards incorporating that into my research idea. If I hadn't volunteered, I wouldn't have known that. So if I hadn't volunteered, I wouldn't have been part of Fame Lab South Africa, which actually exposed me to understanding the importance of science communication in research. So it's very, very important that you increase your awareness through these activities. I think one last thing that I'll also say here is if you don't volunteer, you may not be aware of certain national strategies, or for example, the SDG goals, and how, or Africa Agenda 2060. These are things that you need to know about, and volunteering gives you an opportunity to do that. Networking gives you an opportunity to do that. I remember when I was collaborating with one of my colleagues, we were writing a proposal on a biomedical implant that we wanted to use to revolutionize biomedical problems in developing countries. I remember there was this section of that grant that I couldn't handle, but a professor we were collaborating with just, finally wrote something that was quite amazing. Although we didn't get the grant, but I was able to learn one or two things from the process. So please, it's important that you collaborate. That increases your level of awareness. If I didn't volunteer to attend the Commonwealth Science Conference, I wouldn't be able to meet Dr. Raul that I later collaborated with and won a research grant. So it's very, very important that you do that. So the fifth ritual is that when you collaborate or you volunteer or you network, and when you keep adding value to your research profile, a lot of people would want to work with you in different areas that are removed from your area of expertise. So be flexible, be willing to work with them. But there's one thing I would advise: do not lose your identity. So if you check my profile, you'll see papers on renewable energy, you'll see papers on environmental impact assessment and all that. In all of these, I made sure that I didn't lose my identity as a metallurgist. I'm able to write a comprehensive research profile about myself, regardless of the areas I've delved into. There are areas that are so removed from my field, and those areas, even if I get invitation to work on them, I say no, because if I do that, I might lose my identity. I won't be able to incorporate my area of expertise into what is required of me by these groups. And even if we have a research output in that area, you cannot really present it as part of your CV when you're applying for grants, because they will say, okay, is it that they just put your name on this paper, or what was your contribution actually? Because it's so much removed that you cannot express your identity in the areas you have chosen to work because of the people that you've chosen to work with. So be flexible, because it's really good. It makes you tick a lot of boxes, but make sure that in your flexibility, you work in areas that you do not lose your identity. My identity as a metallurgist is very, very important to me, and I only choose areas where that identity can be expressed. So if anyone sees any of my research outputs, they're able to say, oh, I see why he worked in this area. The world is a global space, and all problems can be solved from various views. So there are lots of other areas apart from your discipline that you can actually contribute. Just make sure you don't lose your identity. So that's the fifth ritual. Make sure that you're flexible. People would call you, come and work in this area. Just check. Okay, if I work in this area, will I lose my identity? No. If you're not going to lose your identity, then work in that area. You don't know that research output that will make you become a superstar, or that would result to attracting future grants. Like what I did with Ram is an hydrometallurgist. I'm a physical metallurgist. They are two separate words, but we find a way to work together so that both identities reflect. And I could give you several examples like that. Recently, I published a paper with someone from chemistry on renewable energy. It's a review paper, and since then we've been getting invitations on how to collaborate with some people in the government, and maybe they'll probably fund our future research. So ritual 5 always works. So be flexible, don't be too rigid. Oh, I'm a mechanical engineer, I can't work with an electrical engineer. Oh, I'm an economist, I can't work with scientists. That doesn't work. It would reduce your chances. And don't forget that there's key thematic areas that funders are interested in. So if you're not flexible, your research idea may not be funded. But if you are flexible enough to work with others in those key thematic areas that are funded, and you can express your research identity, then that's fine. So the next visual that I will show you is the sixth one. This is one that gives me headache a lot, because research budget can be extremely demanding, and if you get it wrong here, it would definitely reveal all the flaws in your proposal. So make budget or finance your friend. So don't say because I'm a researcher, I'm not interested in doing research. I'm not interested in doing budget. I'm a researcher, I don't want to do budget. I struggle a lot with it because it's very demanding. It takes a lot of time, but I can share a few tips based on my experience. Make sure that when you see a grant call, you read the call carefully and pay attention, most importantly, to the budgetary requirements, because sometimes you just, oh, this grant is £400,000 and that's the only thing in your head. But if you look carefully, they can tell you that 40% of that £400,000 should be for personnel costs, while 50% should be for research and all that. If you miss those details, you will not be able to attract any grants. So it's very important that you make budget and finance your friends. So you pay attention to it. Don't get pushed away by it. This is one of my own experience. Initially, when I was applying for grants, I used to struggle with that area, so I run away from it. And and I'll also give you one clue that has really helped me. So it's this aspect that we think that it's simple. It's just to put prices or cost of expenditure. So we do it last. No, please don't, because that area, the reviewers pay a lot of attention to it. So again, also try as much as possible that when you're preparing for your budget, when you're writing a research proposal for a grant application, make sure that you check the cost of all expenditures. If something is about $5,000 and you put $15,000, you've already lost the trust of the funder. So you need to put that in mind. And for each expenditure, provide a justification. What is the motivation behind these expenses? So your budget is like a very crucial part of your research. And if you are not able to convince your funder that you have good finance skill, then it's a problem. And avoid figures that ends with zero. So for example, if the total grant is $400,000, don't put $400,000. You can put 399.97 something. So just make sure that you have, if the grant is 6,000, make sure it's like maybe 59 something or 39 something, 39 another figure, 399 or 397. Avoid flat rates like this. Of course, some applications you have the freedom to leave it as it is. I mean, if it's 400,000, you can design your budget such that it's 400,000, such that you have 0,000. But in most cases, if you look at the cost of the things you need to buy or to do, it doesn't really add up to that exact figure or to figures that end with 0,000. I hope that you take note of that. These are some of the things that I factor in when I'm preparing my research proposal, and it's a real sure that I perform. So what I do most of the time is I seek the help of finance expert. No institution in the world, every institution in the world has people that are responsible for finance, and they have finance teams, they have experts in budget and all that. Prepare your proposal, send it to them, and allow them to have a look at your budget and all that. Then they can advise you, and that has really helped. Most of the time, for most of my grants, I just do a rough sketch, but the rest is being perfected by experts. So it's a ritual that you must inculcate. It's an habit that you must practice all the time. Don't rely on yourself alone. A colleague of mine last year applied for a grant, and she sent me the proposal, and I looked at her budget. Based on my experience, I was able to advise, and she got the grant. So use experienced grant winners as well. They can be very, very helpful. That's one thing that I need to also point out. So once you are able to be friendly with budgets, preparing budget with finance experts, then you can easily satisfy this component of research proposal, and it's a non-negotiable ritual that you need to always perform if you really want to position your research proposal ahead of other people. So the last ritual that I would share with you, which is the seventh one and my favorite of all, is use failure and feedback to your advantage. So I don't know if any of you have had the CV or heard about the CV of failures. I think everyone needs to develop that. That actually help you reflect on things you can improve on. You can learn so many things about yourself by preparing a CV of failure. In fact, CV of failures. So so when Dr. Glenham was introducing me, he was like, "Oh, he has won numerous grants." That's not a complete information, and that's not totally true. I have failed more grants than I have won. So I have a CV of failure, and I learn from each of the feedback I get from some of these failed grants applications. So that's why I like the quote of Winston Churchill. It says, "Success is not final and failure is not fatal." So I encourage you to always use this to advantage. So if you've heard about this famous Princeton professor, if you just Google his name, you will find his CV of failure is very, very impressive. It's probably one of the best in the world at the moment. But if you see severe failure, then you know that you're not the only one getting negative feedback. So what I'm trying to say is all these rituals, even if you perform them, it does not guarantee that you would win research grants. But at least if you map out your severe failure, you have lessons to learn from there. If you take feedback and use them to your advantage, then there's a chance that in future you will win a grant. So you need to develop the attitude of a goat. In my culture, a goat is a stubborn animal. If you ask it not to do something, it will repeat it. So don't let one bad feedback make you discourage you from applying for more research grants. So you also need to develop a thick skin, a skin of an elephant, because some reviewers can be very harsh and they say some discrediting things that might discourage you from applying in future. But you need to have the skin of an elephant. So I can show you an example. This is just a few weeks ago. If in fact, I wonder if I actually qualify to be given this talk, but I think I'm more qualified because it's part of the ritual. This is one of the feedback that I received on a grant that I applied for, and that was 2 weeks ago. And you see the famous sentence, "I regret to advise that your application was not successful." And this is just a research grant that is not a lot. It's about 100,000 Rand per month, per annum for 3 years. And if I had the opportunity in the past to attract grants worth, thousands of dollars, and I applied for this one and I didn't get it. So it shows that definitely there is room for improvement, and they have given me good feedbacks and they encouraged me to resubmit my application, in 2022 against 2023. I will make use of this feedback and then try again. Hopefully I'll get it. So what I'm saying in essence is that the fact that I've shared all this ritual does not mean that the next grant you're going to apply for, you're going to get it. No, but it puts you in a better position to win grants in the future. So I just want to show you an example of how I've used feedback to my advantage. This was the first ever grant that I applied for in my life. And the nice thing was like, oh, the panel agreed that your proposal is fundable. Then the bad news comes right after in the next paragraph. However, we received an overwhelming number of applications from research institutions across the country, and the decision to prioritize certain applications was taken by the NRF funding committee. Unfortunately, not all deserving applications were selected for funding. And the usual phrase that I'm used to more than anything in my research career, it says, "We regret to inform you that your application will not be supported in 2018 from the year due to budgetary constraints and competitiveness of the program." So this was my first ever research grant that I applied for. It was a postdoctoral fellowship application. I didn't even have the credentials to apply for it then because I hadn't finished my PhD, but I took risk to apply because you have something to learn. Then the remaining part of the feedback is I saw, track record of applicants, and they said it was good. As at then, I had 17 published peer-reviewed articles. So this is a strong evidence for what I have told you earlier. You need to build your profile. So in terms of profile, it was nice. Scientific and technical quality of the proposed research. I met the requirement, even though it was my first grant application. So because I was able to write authoritative, that's one of the rituals that I've performed over the years. Then research design methodology developed to address aims of research. I got a good comment there. Alignment with national and institutional research priorities. All these ones I got quite well, but I didn't get it because I sat and wrote it. It's because I had done some rituals in the past that allowed me. But the sad part is that I didn't get the research grant because of this. The target outputs are described, but details on publication, conference proceedings are missing. Since then, I learned that when I'm applying for a research grant, I need to show I'm going to attend this conference. I'll state the name of the conference and even give title of the papers because this then show them that I know what I'm doing. But then I didn't do it. So the reviewers also think that the anticipated outputs have not been adequately considered. So yeah, then I just said, yeah, I'll publish a few papers. And I was supposed to say I'll publish 3 papers, and these 3 papers will be published in the first year, and maybe 1 paper in the first year, 2 papers in the second year. Even put the date of when these publications will be out. Even though things might change, but they need to see that. I didn't know that when I applied. I used this particular feedback to then apply for the ISRI's postdoctoral fellowship that I won in 2018. So it's good to make use of your feedback, of the feedback you get, because sometimes when you just read that statement, I regret, you just discard the whole thing. No, read everything, make use of the feedback, and use it to your advantage. That is the seventh ritual, and I hope that maybe as you are now start to apply, or if you've been applying before, as you continue to apply for research grants, you make use of all the failures that you've had in the past by learning the critical information as to why you have failed them and using that to your advantage. So in summary, I would like to remind you that I've told you that it's important for you to build your research profile because it gives you the confidence you need to apply. It's the only way you can actually brag. And every research proposal, or most of the research proposal, has a section where you have to talk about your research profile, and they want you to show your stuff, how good you are. You need to be able to write persuasively, and I've told you that science communication skills are very crucial. If you don't know anything about science communication, I think you should start now. Then you need to write authoritatively. I've showed you that reveals the depth of your knowledge, and it shows that you are a master of the research idea that you are proposing and the implementation plan that you have put forward. Then another thing is make sure you increase your level of awareness. I have told you this before, that networking, volunteering, and collaboration are viable means of achieving this. It's very important that you are flexible so that if your research is so much, or your discipline or your area is so much removed from what the big funders are funding, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Robert Stiftung, the Carnegie Corporation of New York, all these big funders, if your research area is far removed from them, be flexible and work with others who have close research areas to these big funders, but make sure that you don't lose your identity so that at least you can lay claims on whatever output you get. Then I've told you, make budget and finance expert your friend. It can be very disgusting, but make sure that you start to pay attention to stock news, finance news general, and inculcate that habit of getting familiar with finance. Without proper budgets, you will never attract any grants. So the final one is, I said you should use failure and feedbacks to your advantage, so because they prepare you for the next opportunity. That's just the summary. So never give up. Try as much as possible to imbibe the culture of goats and the skin, wear the skin of elephant. It's the only way. Otherwise, you stand no chance. So these are the 7 rituals that I have used and I've continued to use. And I hope that if you've not started using them, please start to do so now. And if you've been using them and it has not worked, don't worry. Keep focused, keep doing them, and you would definitely attract research grants someday. So I want to leave you with something to think about. We all have people who inspire us. This man died on the day that I won my first research grant. And when he died, before he died, the last message he gave that he left for all researchers in the world reads thus: let us fight for every woman and every man to have the opportunity to live healthy, secure lives that is full of opportunity and love. We are all time travelers journeying together into the future, but let us work together to make the future a place we want to visit. He's one of the greatest scientists of all time, and you can see that he's asking us to inculcate the habit or imbibe the habit of collaborating. He's asking us to work together. So if you're working alone now, you may not stand a chance of, winning a grant or writing a convincing research proposal. So it's important that we all work together. He has asked us to be brave, to be curious, to be determined, overcome the odds. It can be done. And this last sentence is actually what I remember each time I get any negative feedback from my grant application: to be brave, to be curious, to be determined, and I'm always certain that I would overcome the odds. So, but there is one particular question that keep ringing in my head each time I read this. It said we should all work together to make that future a place we want to visit. Then the question is, how do we visit the future? I have some ideas, but I'm not going to share because this is a topic for another day. As a result, I would ask you to watch out for the next webinar and make sure you attend. And this webinar could be on LabIngate or any other platform. It's important that we keep learning at all times. On this note, I want to say thank you for listening to my boring talk. Unfortunately, I've not kept it short, but I think it is very important that I deal with this topic exhaustively. I wouldn't be speaking to you without some of the people and organizations that I've shown here. So Prof. Chan was my PhD supervisor. In fact, the 3 of them you've seen here were my PhD supervisors. There was Dr. Awaram that I found on the internet, and through working together, we were able to win some grants. Prof. Cornish, probably one of the, I've received more feedback from her than any other person in the past, and some of this feedback has really helped. And the different organizations that have funded me and organizations that I'm affiliated with. So on this note, I want to say thank you so much for listening. And if you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer if it's not too late.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my brother. And I mean, you've done justice to this very difficult topic. And I think that the sentiments from the audience have laid credence to what you've just done here. I think that, please permit me, I know that we are almost 17 minutes over, but let me make these few announcements, and then we will take some questions. But I must say that we are very sorry for the time, but this is also timely, and we apologize. But I want to reiterate the 2 comments that my brother made. He says that success is not final and failure is not fatal. Be brave, be curious, be determined, overcome the odds. It can be done. It must be done. And I want to say to everyone here that your dreams are very valid. Thank you so much, Doc. Let me quickly make some of the announcement. Can I also suggest that whilst I make the announcement, my technical team will also help me project, for instance, the next webinar, and then the things. But then the fourth conference on the International Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Materials Development, ICSEMD 2022, which is organized by Labingate, will be hosted. That will happen on September 2022. Please, can I suggest or invite or speak to all of you here and maybe make this call to reach your various universities, your research collaborators to submit papers. Last year it was brutal, it was nice, it was intriguing, and we want some of this. And the beauty is that after the conference, all the papers are published in a Scopus indexed journals. So these are papers that goes through serious peer review process. So I want to suggest that please make a point, make a date with us, and submit your conference papers. We want some of the quality works. You see, what makes the journal science? It's because people picked this thing up and decided that we want to make this thing work. We have this opportunity, this platform. It will take researchers, engineers, scientists like you and myself to make sure that this Labingate becomes something of great value. This conferences become something of noteworthy. And it is very important that as we continue this, the whole project is that we'll end up having an international journal of our own. But we have to start small to get there. And so I'm saying to all of us that at a point we need to stop, think, and reflect. And the only way we can do this is to make sure that please we send our papers there, our conference papers there, so that we can get them published. The second thing I want to admonish everyone on this platform is that please make sure that you talk to your institution and your universities to sign up with their laboratories in Labingate. We want to have that platform where we will have a lot of people having showcase whatever they have in their laboratories, so that we can use that and help people to make sure that their dreams become real. So I'm also, finally, I just also want to suggest to all students in this platform, whether you are doing your potential student, your prospective student, you're a student, you're doing your master's, your honors, your PhD, or even you're a postdoctoral fellow, if you want any consulting and you want to look at opportunities in doing some postgraduate diploma in Canada and all that, can you please go to www.http://labingate.com.consult. They will put it in the chat. Go there, book an appointment with us, and then we can see how we can help you. Because the idea is that there is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go further, go with people. The idea is that we want to use this platform to get a lot of scientists that will help us to make sure that we change the fortunes of the world. We are not talking about Africa anymore. We are talking about the world, because we want to play at the global stage. And if, as an African, I want to say to you, your dreams are valid. The only way we can do this is when we work together, when we collaborate, when we co-create, when we cross-pollinate our ideas. It can be done, and it must be done, or else we will be done. Finally, I want to say to you that the next webinar, can Dr. Abioye, can you put the next webinar on the platform? John Abe, I've noted your hands. The next webinar, we will be talking about the tenet of university education, well-filled to well-formed mind. And it will be presented by my humble self. And then we're looking forward to this. Please, can I suggest that, because the idea of this webinars is to get us informed, get us to whet our appetite, to whip up enthusiasm in us, to say that it doesn't matter where you are. People might have said to you, you can't do it, you can't do that, but you can take whatever you have and make gold out of it. We want to move from people or students that are filled with so many information to people who have actually used their teaching, their lessons, and all the things they've enjoyed in life during the work, doing the work of research, to form, to create a perspective in their mind, so that when they see a problem, they don't say, ah, this cannot be solved, but they look at the problem and say, how can I engage it? So I'm welcoming you. It's happening on March 26th, 2020, exactly the same time, and I bet you will stick to time. We'll make sure that this is what we are doing. So please, your comment, your feedback is very, very important. So if you check in the chat box, there is a survey there. Please make sure you take in the survey, you do the survey, so that we know what you are thinking, and then we can organize these things so that these things can help you to be able to reach out. Please, if you found anybody in the platform you want to reach out to, feel free to reach out. Remember, one of our core mandates as LabIngate is to co-create and collaborate. So we're trusting that you would use some of these resources that we are offering for free for you. There are people that are paying so much to make sure these things happen. So please, let's seize this opportunity and let's make gold out of it. I always say to people, pressure makes diamonds, fire purifies gold. Today we've learned the 7 rituals that we need to engage if we want to get that grant and win. On this note, I also want to thank you so much. Can I suggest that we use the next 6 minutes to welcome some comments and some questions, but please can we keep it very, very brief? So I have seen John, and I have seen Mohammed. John, please unmute yourself and go for it.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, Doctor. And I really appreciate Dr. Bodunrin's presentation. It was very fantastic. However, I think I was sending a message ahead to a few of us already that can we have access to a link to the recorded Zoom meeting. It's very key because myself, I was struggling with the connection and I missed the.
Yes, thank you so much, John. The recordings will be made available, but I would have to confer with my presenter today to see if he can actually share the slides. And if that also can be done, we would have to PDF and share it with you. But this will be communicated to you at a much later date. But then the recordings will be shared with you, and it will also be on the LabIngate site. Mohammed, go for it.
Thank you, Professor.
Presentation not want to miss. It means that I make it available. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mohammed, go for it. Are you experiencing some trouble?
I have okay. I have 2 questions. First, as an engineer or verified fields, how you can help everyone as an expert. We are from verified fields. Do you have the ability to combine all of them and provide specific knowledge for each one? You join or have
okay, sorry, Mohammed,
can contribute with to research.
Yes, I think that I've heard a lot of the things you're saying. One, the thing is that we are trying to make sure that LabIngate create a community of experts so that we are able to link people to the right person that is in that field. So for instance, like Dr. Bodunrin talked about, most of these webinars are geared towards getting the relevant people to speak so that we can be able to know who is doing what, and then you can be able to collaborate effectively with those persons. And I also know that, for instance, Dr. Bodunrin, Dr. Abioye will know someone who does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so when you say that in this community, so look at this as LabIngate as a community of practice where we have experts that will be able to work together to make sure that whatever problem that we are trying to solve is solved. So that is the whole idea. For interest of time, Adejoke, please go for it.
Okay. Sorry. Good afternoon. Good evening. Thank you so much to the organizer and the presenters. So sorry, actually, I'm not a researcher, but I've been opportune to win a few grants, and I can relate to everything our presenter said. However, I just have one question. Is it possible that, as I'm not in academia, as I'm not a doctor or something, is it possible to like partner with um, a researcher or something to probably work on a project and get the grant together? I don't know if that is possible.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I would let Michael say to that, but Adejoke, I remembered you well from last year when you did the recycling thing. And recycling is all about circular economy. So definitely, I mean, you can reach out to any of the people that you want to work with. But Dr. Bodunrin, can you just go for it?
Thank you, Adejoke, for that question. I think the answer is very clear, yes, because collaboration is the way to go. So there's freedom. The reason why we are superior animals to other animals is because we are able to communicate and we are able to collaborate. So I think that you should not feel discouraged. If you think there's someone you need that you want to work with, just search on the internet and send an email to the person. I'm sure people are willing to collaborate and work with others. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Yes, that has answered my question.
Yeah,
I will reach out to you too. Thank you.
Good. And also,
Okay, no problem.
let me quickly add that the kind of research we are doing these days is to bridge the gap between academia and industry. Academia is supposed to support what is happening in industry. So if you have industrial partners, that is even a good thing. So please don't be relentless. Just go for it and just look for the person. And then whatever resources you need, you can rely on even LabingGate to make sure that we provide a seamless process to make sure that whatever we want to do is done. Because at the end of the day, when you increase your product, we are going to get funding from you, and then we're going to do quality research. Newton is the last person I want to take for today. Newton, go for it, and then I can bring this thing to a close. Go for it, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
I want to appreciate you first of all. Now, my concern is, I know this hardly happens. I would like to believe so, but should someone you've asked to collaborate or maybe perform peer review on your grant, take your idea and use it to apply, what could be done to, stop this from happening? Or should it happen, what can you do? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bodunrin. Go for it, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Newton. That's a very tricky one. I think we need even more experienced people to advise on the way to go. I myself have been in that situation where maybe one or two of my ideas seem to have been hijacked or stolen. But the truth about it is that sometimes if you don't lose some, you don't win some. So it's something that before you take that step of asking someone to peer review your proposal, make sure it's someone that you really trust and someone that is reliable. So I think that's the best way. And another way is to probably, maybe when you're collaborating with a few people, then when you write your section, let the other people that you're collaborating with also read that and give input. Then that way, at least it's something that you're working on collectively. So the fear of one of you hijacking your idea will not be there. Regarding what can be done, maybe some of the things that I've seen people do is, so there is this issue of research output from such grants. I mean, you can complain about conflict of interest or something by writing to editor of journals, if, for example, research outputs are in the form of journals or conferences and all that. But it's a really tricky situation, and I do not think that I'm experienced enough to give you a satisfactory answer. But what I do to prevent that is that people I share ideas with, based on my previous experience of ideas being hijacked, are people that I trust that wouldn't steal my or hijack my ideas. So I hope that answers your question. And before there's someone who asked a question on the important things you need to put in your CV. Well, for grant application, sometimes they tell you your CV must not be more than one page. Sometimes it must not be more than 2 pages. So you must make sure that you provide evidence on your CV to show that you are worthy of winning a grant. And evidence are your ability to disseminate information to the public, not only experts in your field. So that's the kind of evidence you want to put. Your qualification, of course, is important. Yeah, then your research output to show that even within your community of practice, you have made an indelible mark. And it's even better for you if you have research accomplishments, like if you've won competitions before or grants. I hope that answered that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And the little I want
Yes,
to
it does.
add, yes, Newton, go ahead.
So much.
Newton, go ahead.
I said, yeah, my question is answered, at least to an extent, and I appreciate that. I guess it's been a really tricky thing and it has been worrying me, but I guess we all have to be careful. So thank you so very much.
You're
And
welcome.
thanks a lot. Yes, Doc, go for it.
No, I was just responding to Newton saying thank you for saying thank you to him for thanking me. And
Yeah, no, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
At least you've said it. Work with people you trust. There are people there who eat your lunch. One of my collaborators in the US said to me, there are always people there who eat your lunch. So don't let them. And work with people that you share the same value with and that you can trust them. Don't just take your work and give it to anybody.
Yeah.
Make sure you
That's
trust the
very
people
important.
and make sure that those people are the people that you want to actually collaborate with. That is the way to go. I forgot one thing that I wanted to add. Lapping Gate is currently also partnering with a lot of universities and colleges in Canada to make sure that we can help our brothers and sisters from all the developing countries and all that to get admitted into some of the colleges with funding and all that. So please make sure you go to the Lapping Gate website and try to use some of these resources. Please, it is very, very important. Yes, Dr. Bodunrin, go for it.
Okay. So I wanted to say something to Newton and anyone who cares to know. People who review your work, who you give your work to review, are not the only one that steal your idea. And some people elsewhere in the world are thinking exactly the way you think. So sometimes it's very difficult to lay claims that someone has stolen your idea. Another thing is when you apply for jobs, especially if you're a PhD holder and you're applying for jobs in some of these universities, they ask you to write about, your proposed research and all that. These are also areas where, your research ideas maybe at the end when you're unable to get a job, then your research idea gets taken and implemented, then someone else implements it. But I would always encourage that you keep working hard to source for more research ideas. If one is taken, work on another one. And that's why we are researchers. There are so many problems to be solved to have just one research idea. I hope that helps. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Bodunrin. Thank you, Dr. Clenham. I guess the sky is big enough for us to fly. Let's try not to allow others take our lunch.
I do understand that there are some questions that are in the chat box, but because time is fast spent, I would perhaps would have to draw curtains to this, unless we want to give Dr. Bodunrin some 5 minutes to go through the questions and answer them. Because we cannot answer all this, I'll also suggest that a lot of your questions, okay, let's do this. A lot of the questions that you have regarding these things, can you just make sure that you send it, you email it to us, and then we can give you some thoughts and feedback on them, because we don't want to keep you all here for so long. We are about 38 minutes above board. So on this note, I want to thank you so much. So please make sure that you send these questions and these thoughts, and we can see how collectively we can help you. And one of the platforms to use is to reach out to us in Labingate, because we want to collaborate with you and assist. We also make sure that things are done in an ethically correct manner. This Zoom recordings will be shared with all of you that registered. On this note, I want to thank the organizers for doing this, for always availing themselves. On this note, I just want to call my brother, Dr. Abioye, to give us the closing remarks, and then we are out of here. Dr. Abioye, over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, everybody, for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate you. And on behalf of Labingate and the Webinar Planning Committee, we say a big thank you to our speaker, the erudite and prolific Dr. Bodunrin, for the highly educative presentation. And he has already demystified the art of writing a grant-winning proposal. I'm sure we all greatly learn from this session. I would also like to say a big thank you to our moderator for today's webinar, Dr. Desmond Kama. Thank you all very much. To every participant, we say a big thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to attend this webinar. Your presence made it a great success. We would also love to hear your feedbacks. It means so much to us, please. And we are sorry that we